Hi everybody, it's Mercy and I'm back again with another video. This video, I'm making it because Lisa had requested it. She wanted to know how to emboss. So I am going to show you guys how I emboss. Now, the first thing is that when I first started embossing, I just was using this ink that I had bought. It's by Delta Rubber Stampede. This is what I was using, and then my stamp, and then I would put down my powder. And then I noticed that it would leave like little pieces of powder on my paper. So I wasn't sure what to do about that. So somebody had said to get this thing, and they have one at Stampin' Up. And I'm not sure what it's called, but I guess it's like Embossing Magic or Static Magic or something like that. And basically, you can find it at Michael's because that's where I bought mine. And basically, it's just a little bag, and it's filled with some kind of powder on it. I don't know what the powder is. But what you do is you put it down. That way, all the powder will come off. And now, I put it both on my embossing plate and on whatever piece of paper it is that I'm doing. And the reason why I do this is because I find that sometimes when I put it on my embossing paper, when I put my embossing powder in here, it doesn't come off all the way. So if I put some of that powder on, it comes off much easier. So I just went ahead and I powdered all of this, and I powdered the piece of paper that I'm doing. And now I'm going to go ahead, and I leave it inside my little packet just in case. So now I'm going to go ahead and emboss. The first thing that I want to show is the difference between a regular, I don't even know, you know, how good this is, this stamp pad, and Versamark. And Versamark is the one that people almost always use. This is the one that they use. The first difference is that this one is not as thick. And when you have embossing powder, you really want something that is super, super sticky. So I have the word Easter on my little acrylic block, and I went ahead and I stamped Easter. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use my powder to go over the Easter. And then it should stick onto the word. Take off the rest and dust off. So right here you can see part of the word is stamped and the other part isn't. So now when I do the heat tool, you take your heat tool and make sure your powder's away from it. You take your heat tool and you put it on top of it, and I like to go over all of it to start getting it hot. And then you're going to see that it starts to melt and turn really, really shiny. You see how shiny it's turning? And that's because it is actually embossing now. Okay? So that's the first one. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try the other one, which is the Versamark. So I have my Versamark. And then you go ahead and you put it on the pad. And now put it down here. And now you put some of the powder, just like you did before. And now you tap off the excess. And right here, you can already tell the difference. You can hardly see the top, and you can see the bottom way better. And in the bottom, I haven't even embossed it yet. So that's number one, the difference between the powders. So now, after it has been embossed, you see that the bottom has that metallic-y kind of look. And then the top, you can hardly see it at all. Okay? And the reason why is because that bottom one, I don't think it's as good as the Versamark. So basically, I use the Versamark all the time. I just have that one just in case. Alright, the second thing that I wanted to show you guys is when I made my little cards with the little book plates, I did this and I double embossed it. So I wanted to show Lisa and everybody else how I did that. So what I did is I take my Versamark ink pad, I put it upside down in here, and then I get my tweezers and I try to press down as much as possible. Usually I use my fingers for this, but I don't know, today I just didn't. So I make sure that I type it all in as good as possible. And now what you're also going to need for this is another sheet of paper. So let me get some computer paper real quick. Because since you're going to be doing two colors, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So now you go ahead and you pick up this. And the other good thing about the Versamark is that it stays sticky for a while. So I'm going to go ahead, and this is ultra thick embossing powder, and they call this UT. And the reason why is because you can tell that the granules on it are much bigger in this one than they are in the other one. So now you just take it and tap off the excess. And I'm going to try to hold it here. This is always the problem, trying to get it where you can actually hold it without burning yourself. So I'm going to put this over here. Alright. So now you go ahead, let me move that again. You take that and you start to heat it up. And you see that it starts hold on, let me get a little bit further back. Let me switch up. Usually I'm doing this like in a box, just because. So now once you get it like all black, it starts turning really liquidy. And I have it like this. Now, at this point is when I take it and I dip it into another powder. And I go right back and I emboss it again. So now, I just leave it for a little bit to make sure that I'm not going to burn myself. And that it's like set before I put my tweezer on it again. Because where I was holding it before, if you can tell right here, it's a little brown right there. So now what I'm going to do is I take my Versamark and I tap and I try to clean this off. And now I'll go ahead and dip it in the black. Melt again, and then if I want to add some of the silver, and there you go. So you can do this as many times as you would like. You could keep on adding more and more, just depending on what it is that you like. You know, what your preference is. Here, maybe you might be able to see it better here. So this is double embossing. I did it twice with two different colors. And now you can go ahead and put as many layers as you want. If you don't want it to be bumpy, then you go ahead and you do it again, and eventually it'll get a nice smooth thing. But I think that this looks really cool because it looks like, you know, weathered metal, like really old metal. Now, the last thing that I wanted to show is when you emboss, and it's like a resist, when they do resist embossing. And for this, I'm going to put my black embossing right back. Tap it in. And now I'm going to take this and clean it off here. Alright, and turn it over. And now I'm going to use the ultra thick embossing, and this is the clear. So let me take another piece of scrap paper. Let me say this yellow. Alright, let's say that I wanted to make a card. And my card, I was going to make it so that way I could stamp on it. Okay, that's not going to work. So I could stamp on it with some words. And then I wanted, after I stamped it, I was going to go ahead and color it in. So what you do, and I'm going to take out my favorite background stamp, which is the script stamp. Let me move this up a little bit. Maybe that'll be better. This is the script stamp. It's by Inkadinkadoo. And I don't know what it's called, but I love this stamp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, I'm going to get my Versamark, and I am going to ink it up, and usually I do it backwards. I normally get my ink pad and move it onto the stamp. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it down on my card. Like so. So now I'm going to put that away. And now I'm going to grab my ultra thick embossing powder. And I make sure that I try to cover it as good as possible. Alright, so I'm going to like move it around, like trying to make sure that I get as much of it covered as possible. And then I tap the back so that way I can take the excess off. Move this over. And now I'm going to go ahead and emboss. So I just pick a spot where it really doesn't have that much on it. And now I start to emboss. And on here, I didn't use that little stamp pad thingy because any of the little traces of it that would have been left behind could have been like periods or commas. So I really didn't think you needed it. Okay, so now, let me make sure that this is done. And it's going to look wet, and then after that, you're going to see that it's like glowing. And you can hardly see it like this. But now, when I actually use some like Lindy Stamp Gang for it, and I have to go across my room to get it. I have the paper here. I'm going to go ahead and spray it. Or you can even ink it. And now you see that it has the Lindy Stamp Gang on it. And now I'm going to go ahead and try it. And now you see that it has the stain on it. And you could have stamped it as well. It wouldn't have made a difference. And then, but you still have the wording behind. So now you can go ahead and just take, you know, a picture, put it here, and put it on the card. And now you made your own like background paper. So this is really a good idea for when you have that page that you just don't know what to do. You can go ahead and use that. So those are all the things that I have for embossing right now. If you have any further questions, please make sure to go ahead and let me know.